In this episode of CARPe Diem.
COVID-19 has had a huge impact the world over. Guests Jason Matlow, Dr. Bhatia, and Minister Lana Popham give their insights on how we can do our part during this pandemic.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome. In this episode, let's go back to April 2020. That's when we realized the tremendous impact of this pandemic. Masks have been proven to slow down the spread of COVID-19. One of the first to turn his fashion studio into a mask-making facility was Vancouver designer Jason Matlow.
I was contacted by a client and really good friend of mine, Jessica Taylor, who had started an organization through Facebook called Mutual Aid Vancouver. And what that organization is doing is sending volunteer drivers into the Vancouver community to deliver essential things, medications, groceries, whatever, to the elderly and people who are immune compromised. And she'd asked me if there was anything I could do to create some masks, something for face protection for the drivers and the volunteers, so that they would be protected moving out into the community, and so that the people they were delivering these goods to would also be protected.
Now, where are you getting your materials from these days?
The problem I'm having now is I've been in a standstill for a week because I'm waiting for supplies to drop. I need bias tape and various things, so I've been ordering online, and just deliveries have been a little bit slow, unfortunately. But as soon as things land to early next week, I plan to rev back up and just produce as many of these as possible. The goal is to do another 25, so the drivers at Mutual Aid Vancouver are covered. Then we're going to just start to produce these and deliver them out to people in the community.
So have you had requests for some glittery ones?
There's already anticipation that after the lockdown loosens up a little bit and people begin to integrate back into society a little bit, that we're going to still, for some period of time, need to offer some sort of face protection and coverage. That is when I'll move into the ones that are more glamorous and more fashion related. Right now, I'm really just trying to focus on making them as utilitarian and functional as possible, and really just tweaking the design. The fit has been really important. I've learned from talking to my physician more than anything else to get a tight fit around the face. You tie this one quite high on top of your head. I've added a little dart under the chin, so that it hugs it in nice and tight. Once you have it on, there's a piece of gardening or sort of floral wire in there. You get it in position, and you can clamp this down to seal this nice and tight to your face.
I never leave the house without my mask on. Physical distancing has also been proven to slow the spread of COVID. Some of us have turned isolation into an uplifting or even spiritual experience.
This is my room. This is my quarantine. This is my self-isolation. This is the room that I spend 24 hours a day.
It's the year 2020 and COVID-19 is in full swing around the globe. Each week I'm going to touch base with another person in a different country and city and see how they are coping with quarantine and isolation in their homes.
Hello, my name's David Pepper, and currently I'm in quarantine in Pachków in Poland. I am actually from Portsmouth, but I've been in Poland for a short time, and I was flying out to see my wife in Poland, who I haven't seen her for over 2 months. And the reason for that, she is the only person available to look after her sick mother.
Cheers, everyone.
So it's important for me to come, even though I would have to quarantine,
7 days to go.
even though I would have to self-isolate, at least I would be in the house and we could talk.
So what is it like in Poland, where Dave's living?
I'm only about 1.5 miles from the Czech Republic border, and they all close with razor wire across, and guards, not just army, they've brought the police, the fire service, the emergency services, all doing their duty.
So what does a typical day look like for Dave? How does he keep busy?
I wake up in the morning and I do a little bit of a workout. From there, I'll do a talk. I'm doing a presentation, I do PowerPoint presentations, and now I've always been too busy. I've made excuses. Now I have time to do things which I never did. I'm sure many people out there are doing the same. And it's nice actually, in my book about James Cook,
And what can we do personally as individuals around the world to stay positive?
And I've been trying to be a beacon of positivity by going around to as many care, nursing and residential homes as I could, and I've been singing outside. They've been in lockdown. I can go in the car park and entertain, and of course all the lovely ladies. I've got Norma, I've got Sheila, I've got Mary over there, and giving them entertainment and giving them a little bit of positivity and a little bit of happiness. And it is very scary. And for mental health, I think I haven't heard that enough. I haven't heard about mental health enough. It's very, very important for everyone. Cockles and mussels alive and alive. I'm also trying to do live feeds for some of the care homes. I visit over 65 care homes in the south of the UK.
Hello, David.
Hello, Dorothy. How are you?
What are his biggest concerns?
Like everyone, where there's going to be another Great Depression, the stock markets collapse, a global financial slide, mass unemployment. I can't control those things. They're out of my control. It is going to affect everyone. The world has changed. But beyond that, I hope this will make it better for people in their lives to realise that not everything is about making money. This song is for you. Not everything is about rushing everywhere. And that as a human beings, we've got to focus on other things as well. For there's something about a sailor that you know what sailors are. Bright and breeze.
Mental health needs to be a top priority as this pandemic forces us to reorganize our entire social structure. When we come back, we discuss stress of our frontline workers.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
We wanted to be able to have a place for the frontline workers to just take a break, put their feet up, have a little relaxation during a long, long day.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. During the early days of COVID in North America, New York was hit hard. I reached out to clinical psychologist Dr. Bhatia to find out how she and her colleagues were doing in New Jersey. How are you doing and how's your community doing?
Carmen, it is exploding in New Jersey right now. We are hoping that it would peak in another week or so. So we are pretty overwhelmed. We are very overwhelmed. And so are my friends who are in the healthcare at this moment. We are seeing some of our patients dying. We are trying to save lives the best that we can. We are supporting each other. My family is very supportive and full. We are, I would say psychologically, we are very robotic at this moment. We are going through the process in a very almost desensitized way because we are in the middle of the storm.
Dr. Bhatia, I've heard Governor Cuomo use the phrase New York tough. That exemplifies that unity in community. Do you feel New York tough?
I think so. I think so. I have never given that kind of label to myself, but I think I'm tough. One thing that I know is I will prevail, and I firmly believe in mind over matter more at this time than I did in the past. Would we come out of this together? Yes, we will. That is what I keep saying to myself and anyone, and many people are reaching out to me. How do I deal with it? And I would say, you need to do this, this, this. And then I will repeat, you need to do this, this, this. So a lot of grounding of our emotion is very important.
I think, Dr. Bhatia, that you have given us some good tips. Now, in closing, to Canada, what would you say to all ages that are watching? What would be your final words to Canadians as we say goodbye for this interview?
Stay safe.
Dr. Bhatia, you stay safe, and thank you so much for taking time, and a big giant hug to all your friends and family in New York.
Thank you to you too, Carmen. Thank you.
Since that interview, Dr. Bhatia contracted and luckily recovered from COVID-19. And I'm sure that her positive attitude helped in her recovery. We'll be right back, but first, a furniture company gives back.
Many hospital staff across Canada are currently working long hours and extra shifts to keep up with the pandemic. As such, a British Columbia-based furniture store is helping out by providing frontline workers with a little comfort during COVID.
In the Greater Vancouver area, there are two brothers, Tim and Gerald, who own the 4 Lazy Boy stores. They've owned them for over 20 years now.
Joseph, tell me about yourself. How are you coping? You have family out in New York.
Yes, I've got family that are, my family's up and down the eastern seaboard. My parents they're right in the thick of it. But I live here in Vancouver with my wife and kids. I think we really had a chance to reflect on what's important and really kind of slow down a little bit and take a look at life and what we want out of it.
Well, it's fantastic that you're giving back. Now, you've been very busy. We've seen that delivery truck out and about visiting local hospitals.
Yes, we've donated to 4 hospitals that are in our area here, and one of our core values is to stay connected. And part of staying connected is to be community builders. So it's important for us to give back. We've heard a lot of stories about masks being sewn and respirators being made. We don't know how to do any of that, but we do provide some great furniture, and we wanted to be able to have a place for the frontline workers to just take a break, put their feet up, have a little relaxation during a long, long day. I had the opportunity to be in Langley the day that the 2 chairs were delivered to the Langley Memorial, and the applause that we got, they kept saying thank you to us. We kept saying thank you to them.
Lazy Boy is just one example of businesses reaching out to help out during COVID. Dean Atwell in Surrey.
Still ahead on CARPe Diem.
It makes it very, very difficult for farmers. It's too few slaughterhouses, and they're owned by such big corporations that when something happens, it closes off a third of beef production.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. The COVID outbreak brought to light just how much of our food comes from overseas. I reached out to BC Minister of Agriculture, Lana Popham, and I asked her, do we produce enough food ourselves?
We do about 40%, just over 40% of BC food we supply for ourselves. The rest we import from places like California and Mexico. And when you look at any of the disruptions that can happen in places like that, California suffering a drought, we have the opportunity to fill those gaps ourselves, but it takes planning. So agriculture is not something you can turn around overnight. I always equate it to trying to turn a giant cruise ship around. It's hard to get going, but once you get going, as long as the supports are in place, it really starts to move. And I think that we've started to see that. And I think the pressures around the pandemic will start to see that move even faster now.
So do you feel now that this system, this new way of shopping, the producer to my table, that's pretty well going where it needs to go?
There's always room for expansion there. But at the same time, we're also partnering with larger retail outlets. And we're making JoytvBC partnerships with them. And so not everybody can get to a farmer's market, and they depend on their local grocer for their supplies. And so what we've done is we've partnered and made the labeling very clear what products are coming from British Columbia. So again, it's the JoytvBC logo. And retailers like Safeway and Thrifties, Save on Foods is coming online. They will have these displays that show consumers and make it very easy for them to choose. You know, it's interesting because we all have the idea that spring and summer and fall are the bounties for agriculture. But really, we do a lot of processing and a lot of putting away for the winter. And that includes our apple growers who grow tons of apples in the Okanagan, and they store over the winter. So you can really eat a variety, probably more than any of us would really imagine, a variety of BC products right through the entire year.
We should always make every effort to buy locally produced food. How are BC meat producers managing? Take a look at this and we'll be right back.
It makes it very, very difficult for farmers. It's too few slaughterhouses, and they're owned by such big corporations that when something happens, it closes off a third of beef production.
Global food producers are facing supply chain disruptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Canadian meat producers are among those affected, and it spurred a conversation around local food independence.
Well, I'm kind of in a unique position. I actually used to be in supply chain management for grocery stores, and now I'm in farming. So I see it from both ends. Currently, we have shortages in processing facilities. We are having plants here locally as well that are having to do 14-day closures and things like that because of outbreaks locally.
Cargill's 2 facilities in Alberta and Ontario make up 55% of beef processing in Canada. The plant in High River, Alberta, had recently closed for 2 weeks after a large outbreak. What kind of things have you done around the farm to make sure that the animals stay safe, that your workers stay safe?
Well, we're in constant communication with our processing facilities just to make sure that if anything does come up, that we know right away so that we can try and act accordingly. We also are making sure that when we are going to our processing facilities, we have to fill out paperwork. They check our temperature when we arrive. We have to wear masks and gloves and all of that kind of thing to help keep their staff safe.
How would you describe the value that consumers can reap from shopping for local goods?
Well, you get more food security. Like we see at the grocery stores, they're limiting the number of packages of eggs or chicken breasts. And when you're finding local farms that you can partner up with and support, oftentimes you're able to somewhat skip some of those issues.
Because most of what we source is local, we haven't really seen a supply chain issue. We buy direct a lot, so there is no middleman. We're not bringing stuff in over borders. Like, I know I can still access food.
Producers like Central Park are among many other farms who have changed the way that they feed their community. For CARPe Diem, I'm Kier Junos.
Still ahead on CARPe Diem.
To what it's all about, right? This is what all the noise is about. All the frenzy. That little guy right there. You're gonna have breakfast straight up.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. Now, just for fun, I want to take you spot prawn fishing. I had the best day on the water, and you know, it was as if the world's problems were far, far away.
Here's a special one. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 spots on that guy.
Today, we're here off the beautiful BC coast with Organic Ocean to learn a bit more about spot prawns. Joining me is my colleague and videographer, Dean Atwell.
We leave Falls Creek Fisherman's Wharf next to Granville Island every morning about 6 a.m. We're back in around 1 p.m. with hopefully a load of big, beautiful spot prawns. And what's super cool is a lot of the restaurants we supply these prawns to, you know, they're 10 minutes from the dock. So they can actually tell their customers with a straight face, the prawns we're eating at dinner were in the ocean 3-4 hours before that. And that's pretty cool.
That's a proper jumbo-sized prawn. Proper.
There you go, Carmen.
Oh, there's crabs in here.
We got a little jellyfish on the top here. Very little bycatch. When you do get bycatch, like this little apelio crab here, you just throw them back, and this little bullhead, watch them swim away. Spot prawn fishery is very sustainable in that regard. Very sustainable, very, very minimal bycatch, and when you do catch it, it survives.
They start out as males and transition to females over the course of their lifespan. So when you start to pick up more males, that means the spot's getting younger and you need to close it down.
morning stinger. That's a red jellyfish, and it don't feel good when it hits your skin.
You ever been hit with one of those? A couple times.
Anytime.
Basically, all of his muscles are down in here. That's the part where you're eating. That's where all the flesh is. Yeah. And so if you grab their heads.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Come on, you gotta grab one at least. Grab one, grab one.
Okay.
Grab his head up here.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. In the bucket.
Oh!
Do this again. This is what it's all about, right? This is what all the noise is about. All the frenzy. That little guy right there. You're gonna have breakfast.
Raw?
Straight up.
Okay. I can taste the ocean in there. It's so sweet. I've never had that before. That's a first. I would do it again. Captain Steve, I would do that again.
I'm definitely going back to sea as soon as I can. This is Carpe Diem's 48th episode and the end of season 2, so I'd like to thank every guest that has been with us. I'm very much looking forward to returning with season 3. Until then, stay calm and zoomer on. Or as our CARPe president Moses Neimer always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So, Carpe Diem and seize your day.